In August of 2022, I was fortunate enough to go to New York City to witness the two-night reunion shows featuring Praxis, Bill Laswell, Brain, and Buckethead at Sony Hall. The shows were amazing, unbelievable, but what happened afterwards was even more amazing for me personally. I was invited backstage and was able to meet these icons, these heroes that I had been fans of for years and had looked up to. But none went as far back as Bill, as I was listening to his music at 5 or 6 years old, begging my dad to play the Future Shock album over and over and over again. And as time went on, the further I went out in my exploration for great music, all of these great artists and great albums that I had discovered all seemed to have a common thread. There was a common element, and that element was Bill Laswell. I'm very honored to have this time. I look forward to more. Thank you very much. Here is my conversation with Bill Laswell. There's a great degree of magic and mysticism I notice in you and your work. A lot of the artwork, the albums, and many of the people that you work with have a very magical quality to them. I was curious what magic means to you in that sense.
Yeah, for me, it's just definition, and to just have a closeness with something other than the normal take on things. And I've been kind of blessed with these moments and moments that add up, and over time, moment to moment, and a lot of it has to do with this. They say there's really two ways. One is the tonal universe, which is the predictable and, the thing you deal with every day, and it's always kind of routine and it's predictable. And then there's what uh, Carlos Castaneda called the nodule, which is the unknown. So I really hope and want the unknown, because from there we can see everything. You go everywhere, and that's, for me, the nodule is the key. So
Okay. So the Instagram handle there is the Nogule Eye. Uh,
right.
yeah. Okay.
I mean, I've used it a lot as a that the word, I use the word, but not the real meaning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And is that from A Thousand Years of Solitude or Caps?
That's I got that from William Burroughs, and I think he got that from Carlos Castaneda. And I don't know where that or originates from. It's worth check. I'm sure it's easy to find out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
will absolutely.
yeah.
So, speaking of the unknown and what you're doing with John Zorn now, um, is that primarily improvisational, unknown territory that you're exploring together, or or is it written, or kind of a mix of both?
Whatever we've done lately, it's all improv.
Mm-hmm.
But in a sense, because there's this history and you have this repertoire, and it's really is its own language. And I don't feel like it's improv in the sense of people being kind of lost and making sounds. It's There's a language, and there's a dialogue.
Yeah, a conversation between two people who have created a language
Right, exactly. Yeah.
that potentially only you and he understand or use to
Yeah,
communicate.
without using understanding at all, you
Uh-huh.
just um, exist and communicate, and it continues, and it's always something there's always something new and there's always something old.
Because of the history that you have together. There's such a 20, 30 years of
Yeah.
history. Yeah. And that'll be out this year or next year or
Oh, yeah, probably less. If it's coming on his imprint, they do everything very quickly. So
okay. Which is another aspect that resonates heavily within both of your careers, I guess, uh, is that sense of hard work um, and great care and depth to
yeah,
the projects themselves and each moment.
yeah.
Are there moments that you can look back on, or did you know at the time that something was happening, something was brewing for you?
Yeah, not so much that I can pick the times, but like starting out, you don't realize what you're building. Um, like this morning, I received communication from Celluloid, which was it's the son called Adam. He's the son of Jean Caracos, who passed away. He was from France, but he was the first person, and Celluloid was the first label to bring hip hop to Europe and to Japan for sure. And then from there, it all just kind of evolves. So still evolving. So. And Adam said, I need your help. I want to, reestablish the label. I think he's guilty that everyone always says they got ripped off, which is not really 100% true. I don't feel ripped off. And I was, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole thing. I liked Caracas. And
Yeah, yeah. And that led to Herbie eventually.
kind of that's the setup for Herbie. So we came into with no understanding, no background because there was no background. It's all foreground.
You made it, yeah.
And we came into that with Jean Caracos and Bernard Zechary, and they said, there's, these musicians doing their music in the Bronx. And that was, Fab Five Freddy, DST, and we just started making up stuff. And that was the early hip hop, Bambata, and it, it all. I mean, I remember in 81 or 82, I played in the Bronx River Armory, just bass and DJs.
Wow.
And I thought that's the beginning of some kind of future. And it turned out that it was. And I continued, and I look back on that, but looking back on that is like looking forward.
In a sense that you see some of those things coming back around, or like a retro week.
No, not so much coming back around, but every once in a while you catch something, and people that rise up and get one thing going and it affects others, they sometimes get hooked by something above them and drug into it. And I feel like sometimes I have no choice. I'm pushed and put in a situation. And so I don't think it comes back. I don't think it ever left, and you just take that and you build on it, but you never let it go. So it doesn't come in and out. It doesn't go around and round. It is part of the what you are.
Who
So
you are, yeah. It's just yeah. It's a life. It becomes, yeah, it's your life. And now Massacre was occurring at the same time. You have the birth of hip hop on one level and a completely different texture with Massacre.
yeah, same time. Massacre even a little before, and that was Fred and Fred Marr was the drummer. He was like 16 or something.
And how old were you?
Well, I was probably 20, yeah, like little more maybe. So, but not much. So,
And so around the same relative time period, you're giving, you're creating these new sounds and pushing new directions and having no confinement to your expression or anything. Um, Collaborating with people of all different styles, and I mean, which alone I think is a feat unto itself, is the amount of collaboration that you've done,
yeah,
and some of the lineups that you've configured on these albums are amazing. I mean, obviously, that's some of the best musicians in the world. Um,
yeah,
Even going to Bambaataa and Leiden, obviously the World
right,
Destruction.
yeah. Which was not really my idea. Like Bambaataa called me and said he wanted to do a record with a heavy metal singer. And he said, "Do you know Def Leppard?"
Hmm.
And I said, "No, I don't know Def Leppard, but I know Johnny Rotten." you know, it's not exactly metal, but maybe it's you might enjoy it, and that's how that happened.
And you had to go. I don't know the story completely, obviously, but you had to go to Italy or went to Italy to get Ginger Baker out of some shack or something of the sort, or some kind of a hut, is what it
Well, he
seemed to
was
be.
Ginger. He was in northern Italy. It's a little town called Pistoia, and that's where he was. And I went to get him or to find him based on the Pill recording. Because John Lydon always said he wanted to have Ginger Baker should be the drummer. He didn't, John, he's not a music guy. He doesn't even know what Ginger does. Um, but he was kind of obsessed with the character, or the originality of the Um, Ginger is pretty rough, so I think that impressed him. He's punk rock before punk rock, so I went there and took a minute to figure it out and brought him back and started working with him, and we did a lot of things. So.
All during that one shot, because I imagine it's tough to get a hold of somebody like that. Or
No, I stayed with him. We
oh, okay.
we toured in Japan.
Oh, cool, cool.
We
Wow.
had an African band with Fode Suso, Aib Dieng, and we played 2 tours in Japan and a couple of solo records, and I got him to play on other things. So, but the main one that got everybody's attention was Pill, because it was Tony Williams and Ginger Baker. And nobody knew who was playing what. We didn't make that clear. John Lydon didn't even know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then Steve Vai being on there, another kind of, I guess, odd collaboration, but of epic proportions.
Well, yeah, Steve wasn't really that known, and he was. I can't remember. I think he was in a band called Alcatraz,
Hmm. Hmm.
which was a kind of metal band.
Yeah, for sure.
And I knew a guitar player who knew him, and I said, "Well, why don't you tell Steve we're recording this record. It won't make any sense to him. It's Johnny Rotten Lydon, but just tell him come and play guitar, and like that." And it worked out. So
Yeah. And I saw, I think it was with an interview with Johnny at one point. He, I guess they were asking him to uh, play less, which seems odd, I guess, an odd request to ask Steve Vai, but you can still hear the intensity and veracity in and what he did in that, and it was obviously very outside his norm, but it sounded great. It was amazing. It was.
Yeah, I think Steve really liked what he played, and that's a long time ago.
I just recently came to that realization about how old that is. Yeah, that album.
Yeah, it's 86 or something. I'm not positive.
And again, that uh, started a whole new wave of uh, that kind of college radio, um, just a whole new sound. I guess post punk or whatever. Not really sure. It was on college radio when I was growing up. Um, there was a lot of your projects that I guess loosely made it into that category, but what was that one? The Golden Palominos was one I remember
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Well, that Golden Palomino, I didn't do a lot. I mean, I was there, but Anton Fear, who just passed away. That was his thing, and he brought the people he liked, and he always brought me and some others, and yeah, he always had a girl singer.
Hmm. I think around that time as well, the first albums that were maybe some material, um, things that had more of an ambient, longer running feel to them, that were like long movements. I guess I was very curious as to the process for those. Um, they have a very open quality to them, yet at the same time feel very precise. So that made me curious as to how those came about, and like what how you recorded them.
Some of it, I mean, a lot of it is just record and what atmosphere you create, you keep building on that. Other times it's a little bit of a planned atmosphere, and certain times it has to do with collaboration and knowing that someone is going to contribute a specific um, statement, and then you're going to embellish that or complement it, hopefully, or it's always different. I think people take it for granted. They think you just sort of roll the tape and play whatever, and it's not that at all. So
There's a huge degree of architecture apparent in it.
right, that's right.
Now, I wanted to talk about Praxis. I think that the project itself deserves another conversation by itself, but the reunion shows in New York this past summer, it was great to see. It was amazing, amazing nights. I just wanted to know, were you excited, and like, did you enjoy that whole setup there?
I did, yeah. I was dealing with a little bit of a handicap. I had a hand problem, but I figured out a way to use another instrument and play another way, and I was very happy with the experience of because we haven't done that in a long time. Yeah, and whatever that was that we did, we've never done that because I Buckethead is kind of playing his show basically, uh, with or without whoever's on stage, and it's always good to hear Brain. And my approach was so different that it somehow it worked. It's a miracle. So, I was using a pick, which I have no technique with it, but I found a way to do it, and it was a 8-string bass, which is a sound you don't hear all the time. And anyway, I was dealing with a kind of reality that my fingers didn't really work, and but I think I made it work, and I'm pretty happy with how everybody feels about it. So
And Oz, Fritz being there, he was doing sound for those shows, yeah.
yeah, that well, I couldn't really function without Oz in those situations.
Your history with him goes back to 80s New York as well. Another, huge person,
Yeah, yeah.
and a great person, and I was very grateful to have met him, and to had the conversation that you and I had, about Ram LZ and just so many different
Yeah.
things. Um, and then I believe, Dr. Israel was there, one of those nights, who I didn't realize was on, the Profanation.
Yeah, he was there for I think it was the first
Mhm.
show.
And he's on the Profanation album.
Yeah, not much, but he's on it doing
Hmm.
something.
Uh, I
Yeah.
remember seeing his name on there since August. Now that album, is a conversation to be had by itself. I think.
That I was kind of consumed by that, and I just everybody who was around, I thought let's do a. I wanted to do more vocal songs, and so I talked to Iggy Pop and Serge from System of a Down, and those kind of people, and Killer Priest and Ramel Z, and I wanted to hear more vocal, and again I was a little bit consumed by that one.
Right. Yeah, you can feel the the depth, and it's just, a very special place that takes. It's very futuristic. The content and the production, even now, I feel are, very ahead of its time. Um, I mean, the all of the Praxis albums have a very special, place that they bring you to, or and then working with, I guess, better known people, or people that are well established in their genres, their fields, and stuff, um, brings me to, the idea that you've remained fairly well underground and anonymous in over the span of all this time, um, but have been the roots of so many projects that have, taken off in huge directions. And I guess I was wondering how, um, you deal with, like, the corruption or the corporate aspect of it, if if that comes into play.
Yeah, I don't even know how to do it, but I just do what I think is going to be not that difficult and kind of inspiring to someone, and comes from that really. And as far as mainstream or what's popular or what's commercial, I've completely lost any connection with that stuff. But I'm not opposed to it. People say, why don't you do more pop music? I'd love to. Nobody's going to call me to do pop music. So.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but at the same time, the like pop has and does have an element of you, in it. I guess.
Yeah, it does, and I recognize that, and I appreciate it, and I'm influenced by some of it, not a lot these days, but by some of it.
Yeah. Um, Now, knowing that or seeing that element of influence in our culture now for such a long time, um, I mean, you truly have created and captured the essence of so many times and places and energies of different people, and brought out new, things from each situation. Um, are there periods that you're proud of, or more so, I guess, or just feel good about and feel, dare I say, satisfied?
Oh,
Or
oh yeah, of course. I mean, there are I guess I call them projects, but profanation is one. I thought hallucination engine was an achievement, which went over a course of several years, depending on who was in town, and that's another one. Seven Souls with Burroughs. It goes on and on. Last the Ages, Sonny Sharrock. There's a few that I consider important. It's a pretentious thing to hang on something, but I thought they were important. So,
uh, which is a good point. I that sense of humility is apparent also. Um, you know, I find that with truly great people that I've met, there is a great degree of um, humility.
yeah, yeah. If you find great people, you're going to find humility. You're going to find some simple, basic um, ways to live. It's just how it is with quality. So,
The essence of who a person is can shine through when there's no distraction or distortion or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I hear the cats in the background there. I guess.
Oh no, they're going nuts. I don't know why.
Is it snowing there?
No, but it's supposed to. It hasn't snowed here the whole time. Even after all the stuff in Buffalo and everywhere. No snow here.
Um, I know you're playing bass with John and I'm sure other projects. But are you uh, doing? You're still doing like production and mixing and all that.
Yeah, yeah, all the time. I mean, mostly I lately and has been for a while, I prefer kind of mixing things. And producing bands is almost unimaginable. It's just too complicated and too many people involved. But mixing and creating my own things and creating bands with people I think are good. And I have this label, and we're continuing. I have about 8 records in the can, and it's all kinds of different things. It's a distribution deal, and the company is called Red Eye, and they're really good, and it's international. So I'm again setting on a few things, and step by step things will be coming out. So.
Right. The things that you worked on in the past couple of years, kind of.
Well, those are the things I've done recently, but for whatever reason, we had the pandemic and we had all this distraction. And now I hope, kind of getting back on course. And again, probably about 8 projects.
And that's playing bass, mixing,
Um,
production, or
it's production, really, I guess
mm-hmm.
you'd call
Sure, sure,
it. Yeah.
everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and those kind of are just happening, just like you bump into somebody kind of thing, and you're like, hey, I have this project going on, or
Yeah. I mean, I don't really look for things. I don't look for people, but it falls in place. And I'm pretty much exhausted at this point, but I'm also incredibly grateful for the opportunity, and that the opportunity is still there. And I can do a lot more. I just have to get health together. And, it's like I said, between Harlem and the Bronx, and it feels kind of new. It's good. I
Good,
like it.
good.
So,
Nice. And is tomorrow with you're working with John again tomorrow, or is that something else?
no, I'm doing a noise record for my subscription, the Dark Bass Matter. And then I'm doing Dark Halo with the guy in, where is he? LA. Two different things tomorrow. And then I'm behind on so many things. I got to get back into it. So,
Well, yeah, definitely wish you the best. It's great to talk to you. I mean, I definitely hope we can continue this. I feel like we just kind of touched on some of the things, but there's just so much. I mean, to talk about, and we can continue. Um, it's up to you. I'd like to.
well, I think you got all the elements and you got the right attitude and approach, and it's what I need from people. And whatever you want to do, just yeah, and then we continue and whatever we can do.
Okay.
Yeah, your intent is what's important, and that seems very solid. So I need all the help I can get, and the people around me need all the help they can get, and then that in return we're going to help people as well. It's not just one way.
Well,
So.
I'm truly grateful for you and for this conversation. It's been great, and I look forward to hopefully many more. We can get deeper into all of this, and we just kind of again touched on important things, and
Oh no, absolutely.
yeah.
It's positive and it carries the all the things like if you know the Ramelzy and Praxis and those things. But it's important to connect with the people who connect and who know certain things because not everybody does. I can't explain myself to most people, but when I don't need to, that's special. So
Right. Yeah, that's all right. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'll definitely I'll be in touch very soon.
okay,
Thank you very much.
no
All right.
problem. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.